Today I want to speak about the main challenge of spiritual practice worldwide, and that is getting started. Getting started sometimes can be very intimidating because our minds, they're used to certain rituals, to certain comforts, to certain habits. And when we start trying to break habits, the mind gets very nervous about it. And obviously, this human mind, instinctually and psychologically speaking, has many concerns. It has financial concerns, it has survival concerns, it has concerns about having its needs met. And there are constantly thoughts arising within that mind with regards to those needs. Now, the majority of human beings don't really want to become conscious of these thoughts because when they observe the mind, they suddenly realize, oh, my mind has all these fear concepts going around. Then they become afraid of the idea of fear. And they start giving energy to the mind carousel, and the fear ideas start spiraling out of control. Now, unfortunately, meditation and yoga has been advertised a lot as something that makes you peaceful, but this is actually not true. Not in the beginning, at least. It will take a certain while of practice to actually cultivate inner peace and to be able to sustain this inner peace even when faced with great challenges in life. And especially when we face those challenges, then we know if our practice has really been effective or not. Now, since a lot of people are actually afraid of their mind, they don't want to watch their mind. So of course, what distracts you from your mind? Entertainment, video games, food, socializing, sexual activities. All of these things distract you from your fearful thoughts. And this is exactly what the majority of humans do. They try to constantly stimulate themselves so they do not become self-aware and are capable of actually observing the ego's processes. So when we do, and we suddenly realize, oh my God, my mind is so afraid and all these fears are coming up, this is when a lot of people will stop their meditation practice immediately. Because again, they have been told meditation makes you peaceful. No, it makes you aware. It gives you the opportunity to observe this person, and then to understand how this person is structured and how this person functions and what this person believes. But initially, self-awareness leads to a subjective experience of more pain because previously all activity was designed to suppress pain through stimulation. But now in meditation, you're not being stimulated and suddenly you become aware of what the mind is doing when you're actually not watching it, when you're busy chasing entertainment and pleasures. So then it seems an impossible task when you sit down for the first time in a meditation and you start watching this fear carousel, and it seems so overwhelming. And this is exactly what the ego wants you to believe. That it will never end, that the spiritual thing is not working for you, and that you better get back to entertainment and addictions. But the truth is, like anything, like working out, practicing a new sport, going to the gym, every time your ego is faced with having to do something that is not in its comfort zone, or let's say picking up art or starting to write or whatever it is, every time you start to do something new, the ego feels uncomfortable because it has no wiring for that yet. So then it will start projecting all its fears onto that experience and try to prevent that experience from happening. But this is where growth happens. This is where love happens. This is where creativity happens. This is where everything happens that is meaningful. It is in that beginner's mind where we do something for the first time, or if we're very good at something, if we're well practiced, we still keep an open mind and try to not be fixated or rigid and believe that we know everything that there is to know about a certain experience or a certain practice or technique. So then habituation is key, right? But if you're stressed in life, if you have relationship issues, if you have financial troubles, your ego will tell you, I don't have time for spiritual practice. I need to survive. I need to take care of this relationship. I need to do many things. I need to get my needs fulfilled. So your mind will always go against the practice in the beginning and say, oh, we don't have time for that. Or this is way too hard to do. And why don't we do something better? And this is really when a human being needs to learn that the mind that is conditioned in such a way, it can be afraid, but you don't give it the steering wheel in the car. Let it be a passenger, let it comment, let it throw a fit, let it be dramatic, let it be a little toddler that stomps on the ground, but don't let it make the decisions in your life. If it says meditation too hard, well, guess what? If you start watching this mind, you will realize, oh, I'm not this mind. This mind is afraid, but I am actually not afraid. So habituation is key, and of course I understand that many are caught in worldly affairs. So it can be very helpful that if you struggle with discipline, like for example, if you want to go to the gym, go with a friend. If there's a Buddhist Sangha and they meditate on a regular basis, go with somebody else, because then it is easier to motivate. I remember when I was deeply into martial arts, into certain full contact martial arts, but it was very hard because the sparring was brutal. And I tried to motivate myself for the sparring, and the sparring was scary. So what I would do, I would simply focus on the task at hand. I said, okay, now I pack my bag with the equipment. And the next thing is, oh, now I just have to sit on the bike. So I focus on sitting on the bike. Oh, now I just have to pedal to get the bike to where I'm going. And once I was in the gym, okay, now I just have to put the clothes on. Now I just have to walk in the gym. So when you start focusing on these little steps, for example, oh, I buy myself a meditation cushion and I place it in a certain spot in the house. I don't focus about the whole story. Oh, I will never master spirituality. Oh, that is so overwhelming. And that is so scary. And I've got so many better things to do. Don't focus on that story. Simply buy a cushion, place it in a certain spot. And then the next day you say, okay, I just sit here first. I don't even watch my breath, or I don't even get in a proper part. I just sit here first. So then next thing is you do, you just sit. And then another time you just sit and you start watching your breath. And then another time you just sit and you watch your breath, and you then adjust your posture and get a proper posture going. So step by step you're breaking it down, and you develop an habituation, so the ego resistance will slowly reduce. So if then meditation in the beginning seems to stir you up quite a bit, you will then slowly begin to realize, oh, I actually start liking this thing. Actually, when I watch my breath, I can step out of this anxiety mind. Even though I watch it, I stop responding to it. So suddenly I have less anxiety in my system. Yeah. But the important thing is to get going. And many of you that are maybe watching my content or watching the content of other teachers and so on, I see the tendency in modern spiritual communities, it's constantly consuming spirituality. No? Another channeling, another book, another this, but never sitting down, never getting to it. Always avoiding the actual practice, but reading about practice. Watching documentaries about practice, right? So it's important to, again, the idea of just sitting. Zen Buddhists are very annoying with that. We love that, just sitting. Yeah, nothing else to do, nothing to expect, nowhere else to be, just sit. And this is so difficult for the mind to actually do, because it thinks if it's not constantly responding to life in a reactive manner, there's something bad's gonna happen. Oh, I gotta get away here because I gotta file a tax report. I gotta get to the bank. I've got an appointment with my dentist. So there's constantly a worrying about the next step. But when you worry about the next step, you never hear. This is why it is important to focus on the current action. Okay, now I just place the meditation cushion. Now I just sit. Now I just watch my breath. You just focus on what you're doing right now, and you don't believe the mind, and have a little bit of courage. I tell you, if you do this, let's say for 2 weeks, you will already sense a difference. You will already sense that you're less anxious. You will already sense that your nervous system begins settling. You will already sense that you need less addictions, less distractions, because you don't need to distract yourself from this anxious mind, because this mind becomes less anxious. So, simply spoken, this video is a bit of an encouragement for everybody. Don't be intimidated by spiritual practice. Build it up step by step. Even though you might meet people who have been meditating for 10 years and they speak about great experiences that they had, and then you suddenly might be scared because you think, oh, I will never have these experiences, no matter how much time and effort I put into this. That is not true. You all learned how to walk. Yeah. I assume that most of you know how to read and write. That didn't come easy in the beginning. It was a challenge to you. So in the same way, when you're exposed to a new experience, I say stay in that exposure a little longer. Push yourself to stay in that exposure. And then extend it a little bit every single time. Just extend it a little bit. And you don't need to think about what your practice is going to be like in 5 years. Because right now, you just need to sit. In the same way, when I was practicing martial arts, I just had to get on the bike. Then I just had to pedal to get to the gym. So break it down into these little steps so your mind isn't overwhelmed and gets too scared to practice. Contemplate about that, my friends. Be well.